Where and what was the name of the very first Oxford house that you got voted into?
The very first and only Oxford house I ever lived in and was voted into was Valorian House in Newark, Delaware.
Oxford House Excelsior in San Antonio, Texas.
So the first house that ever voted me in was the Walnut Hill House in Richardson, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas.
Beltsville, Maryland.
And the name of the house?
Oxford House, Howard Avenue.
Oxford House Rolling Oaks in San Antonio, Texas.
So I went and interviewed when I was still in active addiction, and it was out of the manager, the state outreach worker lived in that house, and she was actually a friend of mine from my childhood. I knew her a long time. I knew she worked in the recovery industry. I didn't know what Oxford House was, but I had actually reached out to her just in help of getting clean. And so she said, come to my house, we will interview you, and if even knowing that they were not going to accept me, but they were going to bring me in, show me what life could be like in the house, and then they offered me suggestions of how to get clean and then come back later. So it was really cool because they didn't have to do any of that. They could have just said, no, why would we waste our time, you know?
Did you get 80% or was it like unanimous?
They never told me, they just said, welcome home.
Here's a welcome home.
Yeah.
You're in, that's great.
So honestly, I was in jail, and I have a really good friend who lives in your state, as a matter of fact. And while I was in jail, he talked to the guys at the house to find out if they'd be willing to couch me when I got out of jail. And everybody said yes. And so he came to see me in jail and told me if I wanted to stay sober and if I didn't want to go to prison, that it'd be a good idea if I moved into that Oxford house. And so I did. As soon as they let me go, I went straight to that Oxford house. And they interviewed me like a day or two later, and everybody voted yes.
I had shared earlier today that I had interviewed for 2 previous houses where I knew I had aced both of the interviews. And as it would be, I didn't I aced it, but they didn't say that I aced it, right? So I wasn't accepted at either one. I went to this third house. There was a brand new house that was opening. It had 7 vacancies. They held 8 residents. Mr. McLean, who I call my Tom Sawyer, and my mentor, basically, in Oxford House, was at the interview. And him and the 2 other house members all said yes.
How did I feel when I realized that Oxford House was going to be the catalyst to change my life forever? I felt relieved. I felt safe. I felt seen. I felt like I had a purpose.
Man, I was really emotional. I remember feeling like I was finally at home, and I hadn't felt at home in a very long time.
That family feel, walking into that house. I had been in other recovery houses in my life. I had been in several treatment centers, several other for-profit organizations, recovery homes, and it was always very authoritative and very oppressive sometimes. And so to see all these women as a truly like a peer-based community was so attractive to me that it gave me the encouragement to try recovery just one more time. And so that, of course, I'm forever grateful. I will never forget that feeling.
And I finally felt like I was a part of something, you know.
And when I knew what Oxford House had really done for me, it inspired me. It inspired me to want to do something for Oxford House.
What would I say to a newcomer or somebody that's been around for a while who's contemplating getting in a service position, but they're just not ready? Or they feel like they're not ready?
Don't say no. Don't say no. Just say yes from the beginning. And I'll tell you why that's my answer. The first service position I was offered was to be the treasurer of my Oxford house, and I said no.
Well, now, it's funny that you asked this question, Mateo, because once I got in the mix of going to meetings on a regular basis and attending my particular group that became my first home group, I always wanted to be in service because I had heard in treatment that when you put yourself in service, it really, first of all, it makes you responsible for something, right? And no matter what the position was, whether I was going to be the coffee maker or the secretary or the co-chair.
Well, I think the Oxford House is the ideal place to be of service because you don't have to know that much. You just have to, be willing. I mean, like move a dresser or go pick up pizza for a chapter meeting or, whatever. I mean, you don't have to have really a bunch of spiritual principles or any knowledge of recovery to help like the next person.
There has been a lot of things in and out of Oxford House in my life, in my journey, that I jumped into, not thinking I was ever that I was necessarily ready for, but we learn as we go, and it's like.
I didn't know that I couldn't say no, but I said no.
So the one big thing too is get involved because it's suggested, and if you really hate it that much, you can always not go the next time. But most of the time, people get involved and they never look back. So
I'll be coming up on 19 years on March 18th. I started my first service position my first month in the group. And I'm still in service today.
And they kept encouraging me to do it, and I was like, no, I don't think you guys want me to be your treasurer. And then I tried to pull a trump card and said, well, let me talk to my sponsor about it. And they said, okay, talk to your sponsor and get back to me. Most of the people in the house knew my sponsor. And I came back and my sponsor told me that I don't get to say no to service today and that I also don't get to run from the things I'm afraid of today. So I said yes to being the treasurer of the house. And then I was Tom Sawyered first by Matthew Duncan. He roped me into being the fundraising chair. I'd been living in an Oxford house for a month and a half, maybe 2 months. And they had just taken me to the World Convention, which lit a fire under me, man. And when I came back, they voted me the fundraising chair, and it was off to the races I went, man, in service.
Yeah, so I can see myself 5 years ago. And the things I would say to myself would be, you can do this. You have a purpose. You have a voice. Don't be nervous. Use it, right? You have no idea how much power is inside of you. You have no idea. And taking this position, you're going to start to realize what you're truly made of, what you're truly capable of. But you'll never know until you push yourself. You'll never know until you get uncomfortable, right? These are lessons that are learned and growth that is had through getting uncomfortable, trying new things, and getting out of yourself.
Who do you think in your life is most proud of the success that you've had with Oxford House?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think my sister is the most proud of the success I've had. Not just in Oxford House, but in my recovery.
My mom.
Oh, wow. My family, for sure.
It, without a doubt, has to be my family.
Oh, who do I think is most proud of the success that I've had with Oxford House? I mean, my gut is, I want to say my mother.
Like recovery and Oxford House taught me to be like that I'm not the most important person on the planet and it doesn't all revolve around me. And so, you know, my mom got the daughter she always wanted, so I know that, you know, yeah.
I know how much I mean to her, and I know how proud she is of me. So I would say my mom.